Hi there, I'm Ilya Sipka, and this is a special report from the Apatros Review. Now this is a special episode where I explain a very strange and potentially dangerous situation that is happening in Indonesia. Well, this situation is the result of some profound stupidity by some very short-sighted people who have displayed their utter lack of knowledge by going down this road, and the fact they have subjected their entire country to this ridiculous calamity. The frightening part is that this might only be the beginning of the end for the world's online freedom, as many other countries have taken steps to do something similar. This is my report on the incident that has occurred in Indonesia, the world's fourth most populous in the country, roughly 270 million people living within its borders, and the most populous Muslim nation on this planet. An incident that has affected the independently employed citizens there, as well as most of its gamers. I've decided to make this episode as a response to the pleas of help from Indonesians who need us in the outside world to spread this news and to allow the rest of the world to see the kind of intense foolishness that the government of Indonesia has conducted. I promise that I'll do what I can, and I'm a man of my word. The root of this ghastly situation started in December 2020, when the Indonesian Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, otherwise known as Kominfo, established Ministry Regulation Number 5, henceforth referred to as MR5, which was designed to allow the Indonesian government to force every company that deals in online matters to force them to bend to their will. Under this draconian regulation, online companies have to formally register as Penyelenggara Sistem Elektronik Lengkap Privat. In English, that translates to Private Sphere Electronic System Operator, or known under the acronym PSE. This means that any private company providing an online service, once registered, and while Kominfo has stated that registration is entirely the choice of the companies, the reality is that registration is compulsory if the company wants to operate services in Indonesia. Now, once these companies are registered, they have to have a direct liaison with Kominfo embedded in the company to allow them to process the requests as fast as possible. Sounds like the system CCP uses in West Taiwan, and through them to pass along the private data of any Indonesian citizen using their services for surveillance purposes relating to law enforcement and intelligence work. They also are required to take down any content that Kominfo deems as unlawful or causing public uproar. The old public order bullshit that every totalitarian regime always uses to suppress freedoms, in this case done Indonesian-style, within 24 hours, although this can be cut down to a 4-hour deadline if the matter is deemed urgent. MR5 was amended with Ministry Regulation Number 10, MR10, in May of 2021. The deadline given to online companies and platforms to register as PSCs ended on July 29, 2022. This meant that any online platform that is not registered will have its access to Indonesian citizens blocked. By the way, such companies and platforms will be given a formal warning, a monetary fine, and then blocked. But the blocks themselves are not actual bans, but simply temporary access restrictions that would last until the platform finally registers or the regulation is modified or repealed, meaning that locals cannot use them until the restrictions are revoked. As of Saturday, 30th of July 2022, several online companies that have not registered as PSCs have been effectively blocked from being accessed by Indonesian citizens on the orders of Kominfo. Now, to give some scale of what the impact is on Indonesian society, you have to realize that Indonesia, with its total of 170 million internet users, is one of the largest internet markets in the world. The country is the third biggest user of Facebook and is listed as a top 10 user of sites like TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, and of course YouTube. And has a video game market worth something like $1 billion. So this is not some small backward hit country we're dealing with, but one of the most significant online markets in the world, and Australia's closest neighbor. With that little bit of knowledge, you're hopefully starting to see why this is such a big deal. So on Saturday 30th of July 2022, the following sites were blocked, and this is just an example. Epic Games, the internet search engine Yahoo, Dota, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. As a Counter-Strike vet during the early to mid-2000s, amazed people still playing that game. XNR.com, Origin, EA, Steam, and PayPal. Now those last two sites to be blocked, Steam and PayPal, were the ones that caused the most trouble, as Steam is a very popular gaming platform in Indonesia. If you have any friends from Indonesia on your Steam Friends playlist that have been offline for the past week or so, now you know why. And as for PayPal, Well, most independently employed Indonesians use PayPal to manage the payment of their income, which means that the assholes at Kominfo have effectively blocked a lot of their citizens from being paid or even accessing their money. To add insult to injury, many online gambling sites were not allowed to be accessed by Indonesians, but were allowed to register as PSEs. This is triply concerning as, first of all, we all know online gambling is bad for you, but second of all, online gambling is technically illegal under Indonesian law, and third of all, gambling is technically forbidden under Islamic law. Let me say that again. Gambling of any kind, according to the rules specified in the Quran, is haram, or forbidden. Any Muslim who partakes in online gambling sites is breaking the rules of their faith. Now, for any Islamic leaders in Indonesia who hear these words, you have to ask your government why they have prevented many of the people in your community from accessing their hard-earned income, yet have allowed something that your faith is absolutely dead set against to be accessed by those with a vulnerability to something that your faith deems as haram. Now, I'm a Christian, Serbian Orthodox to be precise, and while I have some disagreements of how some people perceive the Muslim faith, but one of the primary teachings of Christianity is to treat others the same way you want them to treat you. And, I mean, look, we are all brothers and sisters of mankind, no matter what God we worship. And I personally appreciate that Islam is very strictly opposed to gambling of any sort. This is one thing that I'm on the same page with Islam about, no matter what disagreements we might have over other matters. And as for the Kominfo wankers allowing online gambling sites to register, the head of their organization has been heard to justify allowing gambling sites because, quote, they're simply card games you can play without using money. Really, Kominfo? Everybody with more than one brain cell in their head knows that online gambling websites require you to use money to play their games. That's why they exist in the first place. Hell, if you want to play a card game without wagering any money, simply turn on your computer and launch your card games on your computer system. I can very easily launch Solitaire on my Acer Aspire free laptop and play that if I want to play a risk-free card game without losing a cent. Is it possible you got your signals crossed, Mr. Kominfo, jackass? Now, for a little funny story about this horror story mess. Many Indonesian gamers who do live streams of their gameplay have been forced to improvise for their live streams as they cannot access their Steam accounts. One popular live stream gamer in Indonesia was forced to live stream himself playing Windows 7 Solitaire for a couple hours. Human ingenuity, I suppose. Not only that, but many Indonesians have actually managed to find ways to bypass the blocks by using VPNs, virtual private networks, which actually works in most cases, although I don't know how long it will be before Kominfo manages to shut down the VPNs. Now, personally, about the subject of VPNs, while I fully respect the decision of any YouTuber to allow their videos to be sponsored by VPNs for them to promote them, that's your right, I personally don't believe that VPNs provide the level of security that companies claim to offer. Using a VPN does not protect you from hackers, or from criminals, or even your respective government, unless you're Indonesian, as most governments around the world already have their own secret ways of overrunning VPNs or breaching them to exert control over their citizens' personal data. That's why they tolerate VPNs to offer their services. And for the claims that these VPNs have of military-grade encryption, please don't make me laugh. Anyone who has a decent knowledge of how military quality goes will know that in most cases, military-grade simply means made by the lowest bidder. So unless you're flying a fighter jet or serving a military warship or inside Western tanks or a military nuclear submarine, things that require certain high standard technology to operate safely without losing their fight in actual war, for the most part, your military equipment will only fulfill the most basic level of competence without sacrificing the bargain government you serve has made for it. Even military spending needs to look for a bargain somewhere. Those smart bombs they use cost them an arm and a leg, both metaphorically and literally, both a shitload of their money and the bodies of their targets, to be precise about it. In fact, the computers that most military aircraft use, even the American ones, are ancient by today's standards. It's safe to say that your computer or smartphone is far more powerful than the computer that controls the fighter jet that your respective military uses right now. The only real reason why you should get a VPN is that you can watch any program you want on your favorite streaming site. The same reason why you need a multi-regional DVD player to play those DVDs you brought from foreign countries. Personally, I have many Region 1, Region 2 DVDs I bought from places like USA, United Kingdom, and Europe, so I need a multi-zone player to watch them on. Same diff. But for the Indonesians out there, you guys have an extra reason to get a VPN, as many of your countrymen have already used VPNs to access your blocked sites, such as Steam. And for the most part, they actually work, so I recommend you do that. Just do your due diligence and get a VPN you feel most comfortable using. But don't rely on it entirely, since I won't put it past Kominfo trying to block those VPNs. There are some other programs you can use to override blocks, but I can't vouch for their effectiveness. Now for some good news. In recent days, Valve, which operates Steam, has registered, so hopefully Steam users can access their Steam accounts again. And PayPal has also been blocked. But in the case of PayPal, this is only being unblocked temporarily, so the users have to extract their money from the platform, and the unblock is only meant to last 5 days. So if you have any money on PayPal, you need to take it out right now, as soon as possible. Now, I won't get into the legality of the Kominfo decision to create this ridiculous situation in the first place. That would take more time than I have, and plus it's kind of bleeding obvious to anyone who has even cursory knowledge of basic human rights regarding things like due process or freedom of speech. But I will say this. Sorry about that. I will say this. Those Kominfo dunderheads really need to get their act together and remove the stupid regulation. You have hurt your government's cause and utterly destroyed the integrity of your ministry in one fell swoop, as well as possibly broken both the laws of your country and laws of your faith. I strongly urge Kominfo to reconsider your decision. That's all I have to say on this matter. I hope this helped those in need. I'm Sipka, and this has been a special report. See ya.